Hi friends, in this video we will cover some huge news about No Rest for the Wicked. A few days ago, Thomas Mahler had an interview with AaronActionRPG, and a lot of great topics were discussed there. Firstly, if you want to watch the full interview yourself, I'll leave a link in the video description. I've already done a video covering the new comfort system, the upcoming Castle Hub, and the big secret still undiscovered in the game that was talked about in that interview. Now I want to start this video with some huge news, and that is that the developers are currently working on finalizing the game for the 1.0 full release. We don't have a date just yet, but it might be possible even this year.
Is 1.0 scheduled for this calendar year?
We'll have to see.
Is it possible?
Everything is possible. So.
I'll take it. I'll take that. All right, perfect. No, that wasn't a no. I'll take that.
Now, what do we know about this full release? Well, as a starter, it will also come to console. Thomas has confirmed that the level cap will be 60.
The level cap that we actually have right now in the game, that is not a final kind of like thing, right? But it's actually going to be 60.
Now, the main story will continue, and apparently it will be something far beyond what we've seen so far.
If you look at Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring at the start is all about who are the hobbits? How do they actually, what is their whole environment? How does all of that work, right? Let's introduce the premise. Oh my god, here's the ring. Oh, Gandalf comes to town, right? Something happens, and so on. You have to go through all the introduction. You have to introduce the characters and everything, right? So that people first get a feel of that, right? And then once you actually, we made you connect with these characters, right? Then it becomes interesting. Then it becomes really choosing, because once you have some emotional connection to these characters, right? Now I can basically be the chess master and say, hey player, how do you feel if I just take that away from you, right? And so on, these kind of things, where we can do really, really interesting things in terms of story by once the whole premise is introduced, right? So that's why, the stuff that we have right now in there is really good, but the payoff is coming in the stuff that we're shipping now, right? Because there's going to be some scenes in there that will make people cry, that from a cinematic review point of view are just some of the best stuff we have ever done at Moon.
He also talked about lots of new quests, like many side quests besides the main campaign. We are going to get 4 more zones similar in size to the 2 zones we got in the Breach patch, with one of these being a snowy area.
So there's the frozen peaks that are adjacent to an area that we will ship with 1.0. And then Tyr is literally a snowy mountain town.
Now, a very welcome addition is that we are going to have factions, and these factions will actually help teach you more about how the game works. For example, we will have an assassin faction that will teach you how to backstab and be sneaky and so on.
Hey, if you want to join the Assassin's Guild, you can do that, right? And now you can play a murderer, right? Or you can join the church and then do those quests and that kind of thing.
An important change will be the classes. Now for the classes, it's a bit unsure if they will come before the full release or not. Thomas did confirm they might have a closed beta to test them, but I'm pretty sure they will come directly with the full release. And yes, classes will go hand in hand with the factions quests. Basically, we will have a lot of factions that are related to specific classes, like the Assassins, or the Church might be tied to the Oracle and Cleric classes, and so on.
The Assassins faction, for example, is called the Severed Hand, right?
Okay.
And then with each faction, there's assigned for various classes, right? And the idea is that they kind of teach you how to play that class, and then also you get quests that kind of thematically fit, right? So if you want to, if you play an assassin, right, then you literally have quests where they send you out to murder people, right? That kind of thing.
Now, for those of you who haven't seen people talking about the new class system, here's a bit of information about it. So first, what I'm going to say about the classes is what I've understood from multiple interviews and what I've read, so I could be wrong on a few things. Now, classes are not a definitive lock for your character build, but just a starting point.
Think of it as almost a guideline, and over time, you become the class that you choose.
And the interesting part is that the class system will completely replace the ability points that we currently have. The skills, which will be called traits, that you get from leveling up these classes can be mixed and matched however you like. For example, you could take traits from a Barbarian class and add them to your caster build. The build variety, if it wasn't already insane, will go to a whole new level.
Look at the typical traditional soul system or the system that you have in Fallout and so on, right? You have a traditional attribute system in there, which basically is just, hey, you leveled up, and then put a point into health, and what that really does is it's giving you 5% more health, right?
Yeah.
So as a designer, you're kind of shackled within that design space of just, yeah, it's going to be 5% more health, and then on the next one, it's going to be 5% again. And then on the next one, oh, it's only going to be 4%, right? Because at some point,
so when classes drop, attributes are gone. Not repurposed, they're out of the game.
Completely gone.
And the best part is that you are not limited to investing in traits you don't want. You can actually choose the ones you desire. You are not locked into a trait tree where you have to pick traits you don't want just to reach the one you do want. Right now, this actually sounds amazing, and it will make No Rest for the Wicked into something so unique that you can't really call it a Diablo clone or a Souls clone. It could become one of the most unique game experiences you'll encounter.
With a traditional skill tree, and you very much see that in all of them, right? Like, you usually have the problem of like, okay, because these nodes are connected, you usually have to get a bunch of shit that you don't want, right?
Yeah, to get to the one you do want.
Yeah, so even in Path of Exile 2 right now, you have that, right? Like, you have that whole thing of like, oh, okay, I'm starting in this little group of nodes, right? And then I kind of like, in order, like, get some resources, right? And then I have to get to this one, and then in order to get to this fifth one over there, I actually need to go over this, and blah, 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 right? And I think there's an inherent problem there, right? Similar to how attribute systems have inherent limitations that kind of suck, right? I think skill trees also have inherent limitations that kind of suck because you're making the player grind stuff that he doesn't really want just to get to the thing that he really wants, right? Yeah. But I think what players actually would prefer is, just let me play the fucking class the way I want to play it, and let me skill it the way I want to skill it, right? And that's the thing that is really hard to pull off, but I think we'll be able to pull it off, is that allow me to mix and match, right? Like, I don't want to be fucking shackled by you, designer, who decided a couple of things, right? I want to be able to ultimately fulfill my RPG fantasy, right? So don't shackle me, designer. If I want to play a fucking, I don't know, flamboyant assassin with, some abilities from a different class with Blink, right? Let me do that, right? And don't make it difficult for me to do that, right?
Yeah, so, I want a two-handed greatsword with cloth armor, but I'm also bringing minions in. Exactly, right? Like, come up with your own class.
But all of this is just talk for now. We'll have to wait and see once they implement the class system. And one more thing to mention, the game will not change that much mechanically, meaning you won't have to relearn everything to understand these new systems. They will be pretty intuitive. The way you start choosing a class depends on the weapons you find. For example, if you pick up a hammer, you will level into the Barbarian class that specializes in hammers. As you use that hammer, you level up that class, unlocking more traits and runes. And they are not limited to that class only, since you can use those traits and runes on other classes as well. This also adds a way to actually farm and get runes that you want, since previously those runes could only be achieved by finding a specific weapon that already had that rune on it, which meant a lot of RNG. The scribe table already helped a lot with getting these weapons, but now I think it will be even better.
The way it works is that it's still a soft class system. You'll still start deprived with nothing, right? On the coast. The moment you pick up a weapon, we did this thing where it's like the weapon for now defines your class, right? So if you pick up a sword, you will level into the Squire class, right? And then you level Squire for a while, and then as you defeat enemies and so on, you gain SP, so skill points, right?
Yep.
And with these skill points, you buy traits, you buy runes and so on. So the Squire class will have a bunch of traits in there, right, that fit that class, and a bunch of class runes that fit there, right, so that you have your gap closers and whatever the hell that you want, right?
My only concern about the class system is that you can now immediately start using a weapon without needing ability points, but you will begin with no traits on it. Basically, the respec option we had before allowed us to switch to a different build immediately as long as we had enough embers. Now, I feel it might become a bit grindy to get there, but again, I could be wrong. Until we actually get to play this new class system, we won't know for sure. On the item side, we will get a bunch of new weapons, like scythes and greatswords. And right now, in our offhand, we have shields, quivers, and torches, but we will also have pipes, orbs, tomes, and probably more quivers. Thomas has also hinted that we might possibly have mimics and maybe even goblin loot. If you don't know what a mimic is, it's basically a monster that disguises itself as a chest or a shiny loot object, and players get baited into trying to open it, but instead of finding loot, they find themselves getting eaten by the creature. That would be really fun and engaging to see. Farming is also coming, and it's going to be its own minigame inside the game, similar to Stardew Valley.
We have quite a lot of people that are very excited about this in the studio, right? That are just nutty about Harvest Moon and Stardew Valley, right? Or just love the idea of like playing with their spouses, right? That have spouses that are into Animal Crossing and that kind of thing, and just that dynamic of playing with your partner, right? That somebody could play the game almost like a cozy game. Meanwhile, you're out there murdering things, right? And then you come back home and you combine things, right? Like, oh, that person made a ton of gold through farming and so on. We are expanding Sacrament. So there's going to be like right on top of Sacrament of the graveyard, right? There's a full farmhouse hanging over it. You just can't get to it yet, right?
I see. Okay.
And it's all those things. So there's farmhouses kind of like on the outskirts of Sacrament, and they're quite huge, right? So it's also something that you have to save up for, but then you get a house plus a huge plot of land, and then it's literally, well, go play Stardew Valley, right? Like you literally have to have a hoe where you work on your crop, right? And then you have to sprinkle seeds into the ground, and then you have to water everything, and then you have to do the thing where it's like, well, at some point you're replacing your watering can with better watering cans, and then with sprinklers and that kind of thing.
Oh, so it is like a full-on system. It's not just you go there, click, and come back an hour later. Like you guys have designed a full system around farming.
Yeah. We want ultimately that thing to basically compete with things like Harvest Moon and Stardew Valley and so on, right? Where you literally can go there and play the game that way if you want to.
We will also have unique tools with enchantments that give you more resources or different bonuses when farming.
Oh, I have a plagued silver axe that, on perfect gets me even more resources or something, right?
Thomas also hinted that we will be able to transform lower grade gems into higher grade ones. He also mentioned a fix regarding items and selling. We might get item locking or a way to rebuy items you've sold. He hasn't specified exactly what the solution will be, just that they are working on it. The compendium will also be expanded.
There's also going to be guides and a whole bestiary and everything in there, right?
A big addition is that PvP is coming. They will basically give us a duel mode, and this mode will first come as a test in early access sometime in the future. And if you've seen those old-style movies where a gentleman takes off his glove and slaps someone in the face to challenge them to a duel,
I challenge you to a duel. I accept.
Thomas confirmed that instead of a glove, here we'll get a fish slapped to the face. So imagine walking up to someone and just smacking them with the fish to start a duel. That's probably the most wicked way to challenge someone.
If you interact with someone, right, you can already inspect that person's gear, you can trade, and so on, right? And so one of the icons in there, one of the things in there will be duel. So once you hit duel, your character actually grabs into his bag and kind of like slaps you with a fish, right, in your face, right? And that basically is the introduction to duel mode.
Thomas also confirmed that a full PvP arena will be implemented in the future. Now for the endgame, Thomas confirmed that a lot of it will be reworked at a later date. But what we do know is coming is that one of the second Crucible statues will unlock a Horde mode, similar to Vampire Survivors, basically an arena with waves of enemies spawning.
Like a Horde mode. And the funny thing is, like, after that, the whole Vampire Survivors thing blew up, right? And it basically is that. It's just basically, here's a huge arena, and there's just lots and lots of enemies spawning, right? We already have the boon system. And it's just super frantic fucking fun, right? Like, where it's just like unlimited, right? And just, oh my god, all these enemies keep coming, right? Like right now we have it set up so that there's 5 waves of enemies spawning, right? And you have to rush, you have to be really fast, right? And you can't stay too long even on the boon screen, right? Because the enemies, they do keep rushing in, right?
Yep.
And then after every fifth wave, there's a big fucking boss coming, right? And so and even that doesn't stop the waves from coming, right? So that's kind of like the idea that it just keeps going and keeps going, right? But if you can't sustain, boom, you get showered with loot and stuff, right?
There were also talks about the new comfort system and the upcoming Castle Hub that I covered in a previous video. I'll leave a link to that in the description, but most importantly, there is still a big secret undiscovered in the current iteration of the game.
Is there any secret in the game that you think nobody has found? Something out there still not discovered?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
I'm glad they are focusing on finalizing the game. From my understanding, they actually have a lot of what was talked about already in mid to final stages, but they haven't released it yet because they want us to experience that wow factor with the full release. I'm really happy to see this game transition from a good game into what could become a legendary one. Now, as a final thought, if the developers ever see this, take your time and keep cooking. Don't rush it. We'll wait for it when it's ready. And that's it. If you like this video, consider subscribing, and if you have any questions, leave them in the comments. Thanks for watching.